Okay.
Hello, hi everyone. Welcome. I'm Rachael Crow, and this is Sarah Maynard. And we're here to talk about Mary Magdalene and our involvement in the beautiful Magdalene Oracle book that has been put together by beautiful Angela. And yeah, we connected with Angela, though we're both in Wales, and Angela is Welsh, but we actually connected with her in Glastonbury, as you do, doing her Magdalene Reiki course. And she invited Sarah and I to both contribute to the new edition of the Magdalene Oracle. So, yeah, it was really interesting meeting her and being in Glastonbury, wasn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, it was good to go back down memory lane because the chapter that I've contributed is about the devotional practice that, of course, came as a result of my vision with Mary Magdalene in the Chalicewell Gardens. So,
Oh,
yeah, it was like re-inspired, reconnected, all of that as we're stepping our souls forward. And it seems like divine timing as we get
yeah,
to the solstice. We're slowly creeping up, aren't we?
yeah. And yeah, and even her inviting us to be in the book as well felt like divine timing too. It just felt like it was all perfect, all aligned. So, I'll share a little bit about what I wrote in my chapter, and then you can and ask me any questions if you want to. So, you can see Mary Magdalene up there, which is also, I think, the front cover of the book, this beautiful picture. Um, so in 2018, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and I went on this whole natural healing journey and was kind of told that I was all clear. And then in 2020, it all kicked off everywhere, didn't it? 2020 was the year it all kicked off, particularly in my body, which I thought was very interesting, maybe a reflection of what was going on in the world. But part of my journey with the diagnosis was that Mary Magdalene came in very strongly, and the first time she came in was not long after the diagnosis. I was just driving home, and I felt the call to go and visit Nevern Church, which is a really beautiful local church, which has a bleeding ewe. And as far as I know, it's on some quite powerful ley lines. There's a spring nearby and or a holy well, and there's also a story about the holy, a bit of a relic of the crucifix that Jesus apparently died on is in the woods. I don't know. Anyway, so I just had this sense to go and sit in this, and I just sat and wept in this church, and I really felt her presence. She came in and just was like, you're going to be okay. This is your initiation. This is the next part of your journey. And I went outside and I sat by the yew tree, and she told me to take some of the yew home and that it would be my medicine. Um, and I didn't really know what she meant by that. But actually, when I looked up yew, they use yew as breast cancer chemotherapy. Now, I didn't have breast cancer, mine was cervical cancer, but um, the type of chemotherapy that the yew is used for was the drug that I ended up taking a year later, which I found fascinating. Because actually, what I did was I went home and I made a flower, uh, can't remember what they call essence. I made it because it's toxic. You can't ingest you. So I used it in that way. But she came in many times in meditations, in visualizations. When I had a sound healing, she came in very strongly and told me that I needed to work with my father line, and my father had passed away of cancer. So, she was really strongly with me, almost like holding my hand because, well, not because, but I think because, cancer is a scary journey. You get told you've got stage 4 cancer and possibly only got 6 months to live. It's pretty terrifying, and you want someone to hold your hand. And I really felt Mary Magdalene come in. And I was raised a Catholic, and I always liked the story of her in the Bible, even though we know now it wasn't true. But I like the fact that there was a kind of rebel and a naughty girl in the Bible. She was like, labeled this prostitute, which wasn't true. But there was something about her that always called me to her energy. So it was almost no surprise that she came through so strongly on my journey. And yeah, and I'm still here, so obviously it all worked.
Yeah.
Tuning into her energy was very powerful.
Yeah, and just to clarify, people who think you can just go and take a bit of you, Rachael is a really qualified herbalist and knows all about plants and medicine. And if you want to know about what Rachel's talking about, I suggest you contact her direct to get more info, because it's not something I would recommend. I know from my homeopathic experience, having worked with a homeopath, it was always a really dodgy thing to, it has that side to it, doesn't it, that you have to respect plant medicine.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, just good disclaimer there, Sarah. Thank you. Yeah, and you can just sit with plants. You can just sit with them and get their energy in that way. And I do think, Mary was probably an amazing herbal hedge witch in her time. She would have known what plants to use for all different things, as everyone would have done back in those days, because they didn't have pharmaceuticals. So
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So yeah, I mean it was interesting. And I called my chapter, what did I call my chapter? Daughter of the Resurrection, because I really felt like she resurrected me. It was such a powerful initiation going
Yeah,
through a cancer journey for, anything that brings in a dark night of the soul. I mean, it doesn't have to be as extreme as cancer, um, but yeah, we have to find our allies, and certainly Mary Magdalene is one of mine. And I've moved into making these beautiful red drums, which I call Magdalene drums as well. So, she's inspired me to kind of bring her energy into what I do in my work. So as well as, her healing energy for me personally, I like to share her energy with the world with my drums. Yeah. And Sarah and I both do an amazing practice called bone breathing, which we believe that Yeshua and Mary would have been practicing as well.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
about divine masculine and feminine balance. So yeah, tell us about your chapters, Sarah, and your experience.
Yeah, it's interesting you were talking about being initiated and being on these, being taken to the edge. And I know it was when I sat at my mother's bedside and she'd had a major stroke again in a hospital, and you're dealing with conventional medicine. And, oh, if the blood pressure rises, we'll have to operate. And at her age, it's all that. So you're really meeting that edge of life and death, really, on these thresholds. And I just prayed, really. And one of the things that I said was, I was aware of all those times, as I'm sure we've all had moments where we've had a dispute or a disruption in the love in our families. And for sure, there are moments, in that moment, it was like, I'm just going to let the whole lot go, because none of that matters. Actually, the love that we share, when you die, you're not going to sit there recounting all these people. You're going to remember the love and the peace and the joy that you shared. And I just knew that I needed to let anything go that wasn't love, peace, and joy, and just be in the love with her. And at that point, I was just praying, because I was training as a doula at the time, and I had all my doula group also all praying, and they were saying, massage her feet, just be with her, bring the love in, call in all of your guides, angels, and just be there. And with that, the blood pressure monitor just went from skyrocketing to zip, 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 and just literally dropped in front of my eyes. And when she woke up the next morning, she was on a stroke ward, sat there drinking a cup of tea, chatting to everybody. And she was on a stroke ward where people couldn't manage to use a knife and fork. They couldn't speak, they couldn't walk. And to me, that was a miracle, So I truly wanted to give thanks for that, and ended up in Glastonbury at the Chalicewell Gardens, and really just sat there in this kind of complete zone of love and gratitude, so grateful that she was okay, and in that, I found myself being taken underground. I've talked about this in the book, had this whole experience where, again, Mary Magdalene appears. And in the story, in the vision, she's actually giving birth. And I remember just watching it all and observing that, obviously, I'm training as a doula, so I'm very aware there's a woman giving birth. I just know it's Mary Magdalene, and this light. And the upshot of it was, I ended up in the bookshop asking them, Mary Magdalene, Glastonbury. And they were like, "Oh, you've had a vision with her. Where were you?" Like, it's quite a common occurrence in the meadow in the Chalice Gardens. And yeah, I was forever changed by that moment. And it was a kind of dress rehearsal for what would happen some years later when my husband, we'd been married 15 years, and he was, just died suddenly of a massive heart attack. So I'd left home to visit family, came back, and he was gone. And that was, again, the biggest test of all, because it's those moments where you have no preparation, no ability, except you just walk straight into a nightmare, basically. And I know that it was the love, again, feeling the love and reconnecting with some beautiful souls who really were really supportive at that time. And Eartha being one of those, really calling in the love. And again, remembering we are love. Our souls step forward and bring us back into our truth, which is we are love. And I'd already written and published my book, Cariad, which is about feeling and finding the beloved within. But all of that went out that window in that moment of huge loss. And it took a while for me it's like the whole body had to go through a metamorphosis to come back to a true remembering of love. And it was like hell on earth. But at the end of it, I woke up into this love that I've never experienced before. And it's like, what's on the, I heard you saying a similar thing. What's on the other side of this initiations is that oneness. They call it, the Awanchi, the original source energy. We just realize that's what's coming through us. And, I was also lucky at that time to reconnect with Andrew and bone breathing. And I really would say that saved me, because I was able to go into these deep practices, which took me out of my mind, out of processing from the outside, and brought me so deeply into my body. And all of that is that devotion to oneself, which is what I've talked a lot about. And I feel that that's what Mary Magdalene and Yeshua would have been initiating us into. The kingdom lies within you. It is inside you. It's not out there. And so it's been a fantastic opportunity, I think, in the chapter to bring together and remind myself that this is a journey of initiation, of remembering ourselves and coming back to our love.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Sarah. And it is, I totally agree. It's all about going within, isn't it? We're so distracted by the outside world. I mean, that's what my story was about as well. It's kind of like, actually, or you can heal by going within, whether it's grief or cancer or whatever. I mean, they're all dark nights of the soul. I mean, you have, like you talked about, that metamorphosis of the body. The body has to recalibrate, doesn't it, to kind of deal with whatever it is, whether it's the loss of a sudden loss like that is massive, or a big diagnosis, or whatever it is. And it's interesting you're saying about the other people had had visions of Mary Magdalene there. I later found out quite a few people have had visions of her at Nevern Church as well, which
Wow.
blew my mind. It was just like, you think this church in Wales, what's it got to do with Mary Magdalene? But other people have felt her there. So, whether they're power spots or ley lines, or
Yeah.
just the people being in the right place at the right time, and the right energetic, being open.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the power of prayer as well is just, it's something I think we've kind of forgotten, or we kind of think, oh, it's something that happens at church, or it's something that's to do with religion. But actually, really coming back to that prayer, or that mantra, or that, like you say, the things that take us out of our heads and bring us into our hearts.
Yeah.
Prayers of love for people who are in need of healing, or
Mm.
so important. And I really feel that energy of Mary coming through with those prayers as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a fierce kind of love. It's reminding you to release and just let go of what's not serving us, not serving others, and come back into right relationship. And it's about really embodying that, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And
that's the key, isn't it? The embodiment, because I think, it's so easy to
disassociate.
dissociate or disembody. Yeah. But actually, I mean, and that's the practice that we learned with Andrew through the bone breathing, is actually to really be in the body,
Yeah.
really be in the bones and in the physical. Because that, we've come here to be physical beings. It's lovely to have beautiful visualizations with Mary and all of those things, but actually,
Yeah.
how do you embody that, and how do you then live it? And you're such a someone who walks that love, that cariad, that essence. Yeah,
Mm.
so beautiful.
And the good news is, folks, it is possible to find love again, because I am now really ecstatically happy in a relationship. I'm sort of 3 months in. And what I would say is that bone breathing, I had this classic as a psychotherapist, oh, you've got disassociation. Well, great, but what do you do with that? I needed to come deeply into my body and learn to live inside my body and feel safe and trust my body, which is what bone breathing has done. And I think having laid that foundation, I've been able then to meet somebody on that level where I feel it's a soul meeting soul relationship. And it's really amazing. So, and the other thing is, you and I both talked about health. I am the fittest, the healthiest I've ever been, the vitality. I feel I've got so much energy, and it's like a complete transformation because you are opening up to source energy.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's
Mm.
powerful. So also, as part of our chapters in the book, you get bonus practices from us. So keep an eye out for those in the chapters. There'll be links to our websites, and you'll get these beautiful practices from everyone in the book. So it's going to be really exciting. So the book launches on Magdalene's Feast Day, July the 22nd. Keep an eye out for the links. It'll be on Amazon and all the usual places, the Magdalene Oracle, and we hope you enjoy our chapters. Thank
Yeah,
you for watching.
thanks.